What's up, everybody? It's Becky Sheehy here, and I am talking today about intuitive eating and how to avoid Christmas weight gain. I'm just waiting for my guest to pop on. Here she is. So as I was saying, Paige is a health coach, and she specializes in working with women with intuitive eating and how to get rid of the diet mentality. And she helps with body image and all sorts of things like that. Can you get on sound there, Paige?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly now. Great.
Okay,
All
good,
right.
good.
So I have been following Paige on social media for many years now, and I did a coaching program with you called Self Love Summer, and I think it was
Yeah,
maybe 4 summers ago or maybe three, something like
yeah.
that. And I found it to be a really great program. And ever since then, I've been following you. So I'm so happy and grateful that you were able to come on and answer some questions on my live. And I especially think that this time of year brings about a lot of diet mentality kind of feelings. So, especially with
Yes.
all the temptation and all the foods that are all around. So, I was hoping you could shed some light on some of those things. So, first off, tell us what you do as a coach.
Yay. Hi, you guys. So I'm Paige, as Becky said. Thank you for introducing me. I am an intuitive eating coach. I also do some financial coaching, and both of my coaching programs are just with the goal of total freedom and peace, the most freedom and peace that we can experience, whether it be with food or our bodies or money. And so that's what I'm trying to help all of my clients to get through, to work through all the stuff that keeps us in a place where we're feeling restricted. So just a lot of what we do is like the mental shifts around getting to a place where you can feel just moderate and enjoy food and enjoy money
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy spending your money, enjoy eating your food, all of those things instead of having all those shoulds and limitations that we put on ourselves.
Definitely. Like, I can remember before doing Self Love Summer, and when I first was researching all of this stuff, everything felt very restricted and everything was
Mm.
off limits. And freedom was not something in my vocabulary at all. And it is just this mental shift you have to make. And then once you're there, everything feels a lot more pleasurable and a lot more fun.
Totally, totally, totally. And there is
Totally.
there is like a cost to freedom, and that is
Mhm.
that you don't have like endless amounts of structures and diets and things telling you what to do, but it's weighing out like, well, what does it give me when I have freedom? For a lot of my clients, it's like, well, I have so much mental clarity and I feel so much happier. And I feel like
Mhm.
I can actually enjoy food and be friends with my body. And that is worth
Mhm.
me giving up some of these like rigid structures.
Definitely. So let's talk
Yeah.
about Christmas time and the diet
Okay.
mentality. And what kind of things are you seeing? Like, what kind of issues are you seeing popping up in some of your clients, especially around this time of year? There's lots of food, there's lots of parties. What kind of stuff comes up this time of year?
So with parties coming up, a challenge that I see coming up is, okay, I have a party that I'm going to go to this weekend. I want to look really great in my dress. And so now I'm struggling with like these diet thoughts creeping back in, and these diet thoughts telling me that I should shrink down and I should just control what I eat just a little bit so that I can, feel like perfect in my dress and look good. So I'd say that's a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. I
Mm-hmm.
just got off the phone with a client who was telling me that last night she baked cookies with her whole family and
Mm-hmm.
was able to experience just hanging out, relaxing, making the cookies and just enjoying one, and that was
Mm-hmm.
such a huge success for her. So,
That's
yeah,
really,
so
yeah,
cool.
that's
I get so excited about those things.
really good. And especially at Christmas time, like with what you said about wanting to fit into the dress and wanting everything to be perfect and everything to be just right, then you do start
Mm.
creating all of these restrictions and rules and like a checklist almost of this
Yeah,
is how things have to go for things to be
yeah,
just right. So,
totally.
can you give us some tips on how we can let go of some of those perfection kind of restrictions around this time of year?
Yes. Well, so for example, with the dress, um, I asked my client what she would have to do to fit into her dress in the way that she imagined it by Saturday. And she's like, well, first of all, that's not even possible. So I don't know why I'm putting all these restrictions on myself, which we do. We totally do that in our minds, is we create these huge unrealistic expectations that we don't need to be having anyways, because the likelihood of our bodies even changing like in a week is not that likely. And so when we
Mhm.
can come to that realistic place, we can recognize, okay, then I can just take a few step backs, take a deep breath, and just recognize that all I'm responsible for is just taking care of myself, making, one choice at a time that helps me to listen to my body, like asking myself, what sounds good? What do I actually want? I just had a client text me a little bit ago saying, oh my gosh, Paige, I walked over to, I passed the candy dish at work. Normally I just grab that candy, and I realized it was a habit. And in the moment when I realized it was a habit, I realized I could ask myself, do I actually want that candy? And it was like,
Mhm.
no, I don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to my meeting and remember that I can have it any other time that I want it. So what I'm saying
Mhm.
is, when we lift the pressures and restrictions, that is when we're able to listen to our bodies. Does that make sense?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you lift those expectations and you let go, then that's when you find freedom, right? It
Yes.
makes so much.
And the little subtle restrictions where we tell ourselves, like, I want to fit into my dress by Saturday, so I should change the way that I'm eating. That seems
Mhm.
so subtle, but it throws off everything for us. It throws off completely being able to listen to our bodies at all.
It really does. It really
Yeah.
does take away, especially when you have rules and structures, then
Yeah.
all intuitive, like anything intuitive, just goes out the window because suddenly you're
Yeah.
just following the template and these rules.
Totally. Totally.
Do you have any tips for like this time of year? People are afraid of weight gain. Like that is the biggest
Mm.
thing I hear all the time. People are afraid of weight gain. Do you have any tips around that? Like, should we shift our focus from weight gain? Are there strategies we can do when going to these parties and meetings and dinners? What should we do if we're afraid of weight gain?
My my biggest tip is, it part of it is the like mental part.
Mm-hmm.
Calming yourself down, like bringing yourself back to calm, because we get so hyped up about our weight and we're going to gain weight, or are we losing weight, or what should we do to control our weight, or those kind of things. So if we can take a step back from that and we can come back to this place of, again, all I'm responsible for is taking care of myself. I don't need to have any restrictions. I can listen to my body. My body does work and is trustworthy. So another thing I was talking to a client about today was, even when we decide to eat when we're not hungry. So if we go to a party and we eat 10 cookies, it doesn't mean that we're not trustworthy or our body's not working. It just means that we knew we weren't hungry and we decided to eat 10 cookies. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So if
And
we
that's it.
can, like, exactly, but normally when stuff like that happens, we tell ourselves, see, this is why I need to be controlled. This is why I need a diet, because I can't trust myself. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you can. Your body is working, but sometimes we just make choices to have the 10 cookies. And what we can do with
Mm-hmm.
that is, after we have the 10 cookies, we can take a step back and recognize, okay, did I actually like doing that? Did that taste good? Did I actually enjoy it? And so I would say, like, my tips would be really like pulling back and slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Pulling back and slowing down, and probably imagining how you'll feel later on. Like always thinking
Yes.
your next step. How am I going to feel later?
Totally, totally. And what you just said, always thinking about just your next step. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
to turn it into a whole season, a whole day, a whole week, a whole month. We can think about right now. Okay, what do I want to feel right now? How do I want to feel right now? And then
Mm-hmm.
just a practical tip that I have, if you're going to a holiday party, don't do the thing where you save up all your calories because you know you're going to this party tonight, because all that does is set you up to eat a ton of food that doesn't make you feel good. So what I
Mm-hmm.
recommend instead is eat a very normal breakfast, lunch, even have a snack before you go if you need. Eat as normally as you can through the day before the party starts, so that when you get there, you're already more like just biologically
Calm.
calm. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
totally. Yeah, it's hard to listen to your body at all when you're like crazy hungry and you haven't eaten for 6 hours.
For sure. Definitely. I
Yeah.
used to be the queen of giving up my calories before a
Me
party.
too.
And then just
Every
finding
single party. Yeah, and then I'd wonder why I was in a food coma every single Thanksgiving. It's like, oh,
time.
well, all I had for breakfast was like a bite of protein powder.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So they're just not realistic strategies.
Yeah.
This is just a side note question, but I know that you studied at Institute of Integrative Nutrition
Yeah.
too. Do you believe in the crowding out method? Like we talk a lot about crowding
Yeah.
out with veggies. Should we do things like that?
I believe in crowding out to an extent. So yes, I do believe in it.
Hmm.
However, the other thing that plays into this is we all have our ideas of what things are like good and bad. So
Good.
sometimes we try to crowd things out that are actually totally fine. Like for example, sugar. I put like a
Hmm.
little bit of sugar in my coffee. When I
Hmm.
taste compare that to every other like fake sugar or whatever, every other like fake sugar is 1,000 times sweeter. And so when we swap things, what we're doing is like we're altering our taste buds to be used to like that much sweetness, and so it
Hmm.
doesn't actually crowd out. So
Hmm.
crowding out, the way that I see it, is intentionally including and eating enough like variety, and
Hmm.
with intuitive eating, like not restricting yourself of anything. So if you want a cookie, have a cookie when you want it. What that crowds out is a binge 3 hours later because you wouldn't let yourself have a cookie. So you had an apple, and then you had almonds, and then you had grapes, and you decided none
Hmm.
of those things satisfied you. So you're going to have the
Hmm.
cookie anyway, and then you're feeling bad about it. So you eat 10 more when you could have just
Hmm.
thoroughly enjoyed a cookie in the first place to crowd out like really aggressive eating behavior later. So that's kind of the way
Hmm.
I look at it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely feel a similar way. I just have a major sweet tooth, and anytime I try to avoid the thing that I'm craving, I end up eating like 10 different things. And then it's like, it's the thing that I'm craving that I want. So if I
Totally.
just have the thing, you avoid all the other things. So for people out there,
Totally.
their plate with veggies at Christmas dinner, it's like, but you really want that one little delicious looking thing, just have the thing because you're
Yes,
going to be happy anyway.
exactly. And that's what I mean when I talk about like, I just like to be very realistic with things. It's like, if you want the cookie, have the cookie, because the other reality is you don't have it and you end up eating 20 other things and having the cookie anyways, when you could have just had it, just like you said.
Why resist? So what if someone ate too much at Christmas dinner? Like, let's say 3 weeks from now, it's post Christmas,
Hmm.
we're all feeling bloated and we've all eaten too much, and you're tempted to try one of those, 21 days no sugar kind of diets, or
Yeah.
do a cleanse or something. Like, which is there something we should be doing instead, or how can we kind of get back on track, so to speak?
Totally. So again, this is one of those situations where we eat too much and we think that we're not trustworthy and we don't have an intuition. So first we have to
Mm-hmm.
remember our bodies are totally trustworthy. We do have an intuition. There was probably a moment in our meal where we recognized that we were so full and we just decided not to care. That's totally fine. We just want to see like the reality of it. Like, oh yeah, I did notice that I was full, but I just continued to eat anyways. So, what I would say is instead of, okay, now I need to be fixed, I'm out of control, I need something that will control me, like moving forward, I need to be better tomorrow, those kind of things, recognize that really the only thing that's happening right now is you just ate too much dinner. And so you're feeling very full and uncomfortable, but nothing about you needs to be fixed. You need to calm down, pull it back,
Mm-hmm.
go to bed, get some rest, and recognize that your body is going to completely digest this food. There's going to be a point tomorrow where you're not so stuffed anymore, and then you just continue absolutely regular eating behaviors after that. So you don't try and be good if you want to wake up and
Mm-hmm.
have eggs and toast, which so many people
Mm-hmm.
like restrict bread after something like that, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
just have the eggs and toast, make it enjoyable. If your friend
Mm-hmm.
invites you out to a sandwich shop and you want a sandwich, give yourself permission to get the sandwich. Don't do anything to try and make up for eating too much the night before. Instead, just appreciate the fact that when you do eat too much, your body knows exactly what to do with it. It digests it. And if you can just pull back and be calm and trust that, you'll save yourself so much mental grief.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
It takes long time, like if you've been someone who's been in the diet mentality for a long time, it takes a long time to get back to that place where you're trusting again. And so as you said with the full signal, you felt full but you continued eating anyway. Eventually those full signals get louder. Like you get better at kind of navigating the signals. So I'm
Totally.
ravenous hungry or I'm 10 out of 10 full. You it does happen.
Totally. Totally.
Hmm.
And we
It takes
can't, yeah, and we can't guilt ourselves when we do get too full. It's
hmm
not it's not a matter of and this took me a long time to learn. When I first started eating intuitively, I was very strict with my hunger and fullness because I thought if I'm going to eat intuitively, that's what I have to do, you know? Which it feels great when you can do that, and it's really rewarding because you feel like successful and you're like, cool, I can listen to my body. So you're building all this faith, and that's an incredible feeling. At the same time, we have to give ourselves space and grace to know that sometimes it's normal human behavior to just eat too much, to finish your
hmm
whole burrito when maybe you only needed half. And so
hmm
if we can set up the expectation that sometimes we are going to do that, we
hmm
aren't going to get intuitive eating perfectly, then we can cut ourselves grace when it does happen. And we can just
hmm
continue on. We can move on. It's as much as you can. It's so much about your mentality of not getting sucked back into the diet control culture and I need to be controlled, and calming down and
hmm
recognizing, no, I can always make choices to trust my body.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it amazing like coming full circle in the journey? It's amazing thinking back when people ask me different questions, I think, wow, I used to be so much like that. And it's
Yes,
amazing how far you can come if you just keep practicing and it's an
totally.
inner game. It's all in
Totally.
your
And
head.
it will never be perfect. I still eat too much of my burrito sometimes,
Oh yeah.
but it's like it's just recognizing like, oh crap, that doesn't really feel very good. Okay, I think next time I eat this burrito, I'm going to do my best to remember that I thought this was going to be really pleasant because it tasted so good and I wanted to keep eating it, but actually it
Yep.
wasn't and I was so stuffed and uncomfortable. So next time I'm going to
Now
try
I'm
to remember exactly. The most
Mhm.
enjoyment comes from the part that I'm actually enjoying and tasting. And after that, it's sort of an illusion that I'm going to be happier if I finish the whole thing. It's like
Totally.
we want to give ourselves other things. It always helps me to be like, yeah, this is so good. This is the best burrito ever. So I'm going to save some of it so I can have this same awesome experience tomorrow or later tonight. And that kind of
Definitely.
helps me pull back.
For sure, definitely. So you also mentioned at the beginning of this talk that I've noticed recently too online, you've started doing more coaching with money.
Yeah.
Any tips you can give us, like just off the cuff about that?
Well, again, I'm going to bring it back to calm because it's all about behavior. And that's why I started doing the money coaching too. One, I love talking about food and I love talking about money. Um,
hmm
but I just began to realize that all of these things aren't really based in like money or food. It's all the
hmm
behavior that's happening behind it. So if we
hmm
have like a scarcity mindset that a diet or like a gnarly, boring budget is coming
hmm
right around the corner, then we're going to eat all the food and we're going to spend all of our money in December and just try and make up for it in January. But if we can just pull back and recognize there's no diet coming, there's no being better later. There's no boring, totally boring, like joy sucking budget coming in January. And
hmm
instead, we can just like you were talking about with crowding out and how I was talking about like it crowds out binges. You can
hmm
crowd out these huge, like impulsive spending sprees that you
hmm
have like buyer's remorse for 10 seconds later, by giving yourself like small indulgences. Like I
hmm
really am like craving to kind of like fancy up my wardrobe a little bit. There's ways that
hmm
we can do that and we can honor that craving without like going overboard and doing something that puts us in a spot that feels really terrible. And now we have like
hmm
money on our credit card and you know what I mean? So it's the same thing with money as it is with food. So I would say my
Definitely.
tip would be
hmm
if I had to give you guys one tip, I would say don't believe the
hmm
thought that you are going to diet later or you're going to be on a boring budget later because that
hmm
will crowd in, it will bring in behaviors like overspending and binging and not being able to listen to your body, not being able to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to what you actually want to spend money on. Instead, it'll
Mm-hmm.
just be like this frivolous, I think I want this thing, so I'm just gonna buy it. Like it becomes
Mm-hmm.
so like fast and automated.
I think the scarcity mindset puts
Yes.
you in this not state of calm. Like the scarcity mindset puts you in a state of panic because you think food is scarce or money is scarce. So let's spend it all while we can, or let's eat it all while we can. Or even at Christmas time, you think, oh, these cookies, these chocolates, they're all around. Let's eat them while we can, and then we'll go on a
Yeah.
diet in January. But if you just
Yeah.
approach it with a very calm, neutral feeling, then you can just enjoy yourself a lot more when it comes to spending and when it comes to food. Mm-hmm.
Totally. So, the opposite of a scarcity mindset would be like an abundance mindset. So, with
Mm-hmm.
money, abundance would sound like, I'm going to want to buy, again, being realistic, I'm going to want to buy a lot of things for the rest of my life. Like, I'm going to enjoy buying new clothes for the rest of my life. So, why am I trying to do it all right now in this
Mm-hmm.
one, online order or this one shopping spree? Why do I feel like I have to get everything now? How about I
Mm-hmm.
spread those joys out a little bit? I know how fun
Mm-hmm.
it feels to buy a new shirt. So how about I spread out all these purchases so I can enjoy them longer? I can always buy a new shirt in the future. That sort of a
Mm-hmm.
mindset. With the food, um, like Christmas, well, I
Mm-hmm.
can only eat these chocolates or these cookies at Christmas. Well, really, no. I can make these
No.
cookies any time of the year that I want. And
Mm-hmm.
I can have something sweet anytime that I want. And I'm going to want sweet things for the rest of my life, and I'm allowed to have them for the rest of my life. So how about I,
Mm-hmm.
again, spread them out so that I can eat them and I can feel good when I'm eating them instead of telling myself I won't be
Mm-hmm.
able to have them in the future and stuffing myself right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can still buy things in January and we can still eat
Mhm.
cookies in January as long
Yes.
as we just enjoy little pleasures now.
Yes. I will still be eating and spending money with you in January.
Let's do it. All right, Paige. Well, so awesome talking to you.
Oh,
And you
thanks,
are a bright
Becky.
light and such just a nice smiling face. And
Oh.
I'm always sharing your stuff on Instagram and loving your stuff. So tell people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Paige Schmidt, which is Paige Schmidt, Schmidt. You can find me on my blog, which is pageschmidt.com. You can email me, paige@pageschmidt.com. It's all my name. Pretty
Easy
easy
to
as long as you know how to spell it. Yeah. Um, so yeah, those would be the main places. And then I have a newsletter where I send out emails every couple of weeks, and you can sign up for that anywhere on my blog. And when you do, you'll get a free 1-day intuitive eating guide.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Becky.
all my questions and have a lovely
Yay.
rest of your day.
Thanks for having
Bye.
great questions. Bye. Have a good day.